You know the famous expression, I'm not sure who coined it, we are not spiritual beings, we're not physical beings on a spiritual journey, we're spiritual beings on a physical journey. And that's not just semantics, it's based on how we define reality. Most of us, at least ostensibly, begin our perspective on reality based on our observation. We'll call it our sensory tools, our empirical way of looking at things, our empirical perspective. You see things, you hear things, you touch, taste, smell. You use your mind and you could perceive things that are not quite contained or measured by our sensory tools. But it's still a journey, we'll call it, from the outside in. Think about scientific exploration. You look at phenomena, you study it like study a clock, you try to pick it apart to see what is it made of, what makes it tick. What makes us tick, you really come to understand that it really works the other way around, from the inside out. For instance, you don't begin to first cry and then you feel sad. You feel sad, then it expresses itself in tears. You feel happy and therefore express itself in a contortion of your mouth that looks like a smile. So I don't know if you ever thought about this interesting paradox. I say paradox, not really a paradox, but these two different ways of looking at things. In a way, you can say everything except yourself, you experience from the outside in. Except yourself, you experience from the inside out. You don't need a mirror to see yourself. You know what you feel. But even with ourselves, we also have limited perspective, because what do we really know? We know that which we have experience with, that which we have perception of. How about all the unconscious or subconscious or superconscious forces that are driving you? Things that are invisible, things that we don't remember, things that happened to us in our childhood that have shaped us, so we see the symptoms, the outer effects, but not the inner. Now, this isn't a small difference. This is a very different way of looking at life. You really want to learn to look at things from the inside out as much as possible. And this is true not just for the human being. I mentioned a smile, a tear. Same thing when it's the physical phenomena. Today we know that the DNA of the universe, the building blocks, the cellular structure, the subatomic structure, that's really where it's at. That's what defines everything. But we live on the surface level. Now, however you reconcile or however you frame this perspective, the Kabbalists explain it from the context that everything begins from within and then travels out. In other words, the outer layers come last. The inner layers and the inner forces come first. So let's apply this now to our lives, to the very journey of our lives. By the time that we're adults and we begin to think about life, we have a lot of outside things to look at, circumstances we'll call them, coordinates to make sense of. The home you grew up in, the schools you went to, the friends you've made, your social connections, your job, your opportunities. There are many things, there are many factors that are determining, even if they aren't determining, but they're definitely defining the context of your daily experiences. But then we come to a biblical story, the biblical story of Jacob's journey. And when you think of it and you see it as a story of your journey, it changes how to look at things. Instead of looking from circumstances and figuring out how to connect these loose or fragmented or disjointed dots, you suddenly see life in a very different way. So here's the story. The narrative goes like this. In the Hebrew, Vayetze Yaakov miBe'er Sheva, Vayelech Harana. Yaakov left his hometown called Beersheba, which is a city actually in Israel, in the Negev, the more southern part. Vayelech Harana, and he went toward Haran. Haran is a city outside, more like northeast of Beersheba, and that's where he traveled to. Why did he go? Firstly, to escape from his brother's wrath, his twin brother Esau's wrath, and secondly, to find his wife, to build a family. Says the great Orach Chaim, one of the commentaries, and this is based on classic mystical teachings, that these two cities refer to two states, two paradigms, two states of consciousness, if you wish. Be'er Sheva means the fountain of seven, referring to the seven divine attributes from where all souls originate. In other words, your spiritual soul originated in a very spiritual realm called the realm of the seven fountains. Fountains as in water. Water symbolizes knowledge, symbolizes spiritual consciousness. And Charona means wrath, a place, a hostile place, a dark place. A place where our destinies are concealed, where duplicity, corruption prevail. And we don't seek spiritual clarity. We don't have spiritual clarity of our lives. Beginning with our purpose, we have to seek it out. We live, as I said, from the outside in. And these two worlds clash because the spirit and the soul thinks in terms of mission, a mission-oriented life. The world of wrath, this dark world, thinks in egocentric life. What's in it for me? And they both come together. The journey from the fountain of seven into the world of wrath, or the dark world. And every one of us will experience this. Now, darkness doesn't always mean it's always dark and always foreboding and frightening. But dark means it's always possible to be that way. It's a dangerous world. You can grow up in a beautiful, loving home, great. But also, unfortunately, you can grow up in a home that's not so loving. A dysfunctional home, an abusive home. We need grace, we need blessings to make sure that we make it through the minefield of life. But there are predators, there are narcissists, there are parasites, there are selfish ones, sometimes deliberate, sometimes not deliberate. A world where it's easy someone to smile to you and then stab you in your back. So it's not that we enter the world with this type of paranoia and fear, but if you're realistic, this is the world in which you have to enter. And Jacob is concerned. How will he make it? It's one thing when he lived in a fountain of seven. It's one thing when he lived in a very spiritual environment. Now he has to contend with all kinds of forces, beginning with his own uncle, who's conniving, shrewd, corrupt, a liar. So you could either try to escape asceticism, but no, this is the place where you build your family because this is where the soul has to come. Why? Why put the soul through such possible distress, difficulties? Because that's where we become great. Without resistance, your strengths, your potential will never be actualized. So we come armed, well armed, with an arsenal of tools and weapons. I don't mean weapons of destruction. Tools and instruments to not just withstand the challenges of a dark, corrupt world, a world that we do not know the different paths, the different curveballs that will come our way, but the tools to navigate, that no matter what comes our way, we have the strength. So though we've left the fountain of seven, we come empowered by it. And those are the seven emotions. The seven emotions within our very psyches, beginning with love, discipline, compassion, endurance, yielding, humility, bonding, and dignity that come with us on our journey and empower us to not just play defense, but actually to transform the dark world into a spiritual environment. When you think of life that way, literally every morning, it changes your whole perspective. Instead of thinking, okay, what's going to come my way and how am I going to maneuver and play defense or react, you think proactively. I know my soul has been sent to this place. On a journey. We are on a journey. So just envision that. Imagine that. You are on a journey. Every moment of your life is a journey. Sent for a purpose. The purpose is for you to illuminate the dark world in which you live with your unique light. to sing your unique song, to reveal your unique angel and flower and beauty. And when you do so, not only do you succeed, but you thrive, you build, you blossom. That's the inside outlook. So yes, we are spiritual souls on a physical journey. A physical journey with many challenges, but with the tools to navigate. A good swimmer is not guaranteed there will be no storms, there will be no difficulties, but it's guaranteed that no matter what comes your way, you'll know how to maneuver, how to navigate. So you have a story. On one hand, is an individual story, goes back thousands of years of a biblical story, and yet it's the story of each one of our lives. So then whenever anything comes your way, you say, that's part of that corrupt, hostile world in which I live. Now we should all be blessed to have the least amount of exposure to predators, to hostility. But it's inevitable. Every one of us is going to face somewhere and sometime in our lives these type of difficulties. It could either frighten you, you could either live a life of trying to avoid and retreat, or you can see it, that is the purpose. And for every challenge, I have a strength to counter it. And for that, you need to be wise, and you need support. Family, friends, mentors, people who believe in you. And then you learn to build there. You build the greatest things possible, which you can never build just in a spiritual environment. It's necessary to enter that type of world. I find that to be extremely empowering, liberating. It's a journey. And the journey has many components to it, and twists and turns. And yes, surprises, and sometimes things that are not so pleasant, but it's all part of a journey. The key thing is to keep moving. And when you do that, that itself gives you energy that propels you forward. The journey of the soul into a dark world, in order to illuminate it. The soul is compared to a flame. What does a flame do so well? Quietly, silently, without much fanfare, it illuminates. It warms its environment. And when it does so, it automatically dispels darkness. That's interesting. It's not a battle. It begins a seeming battle. The battle is the absence of light. But once light emerges, once light appears, it automatically dispels the darkness. Warmth automatically warms things up, no matter how cold it is. You may need more warmth, you may need more light, but that's its nature. And you have that. That's your birthright. You don't have to buy it. No one has to sell it to you. It's a matter of accessing it and actualizing it. The words of Michelangelo, how did you sculpt those beautiful angels in the marble? I saw the angel trapped in the marble, and I carved and set her or set them free. You have that angel within you. So the story of Jacob is our story. Is the story of life, where it begins in a very bright and warm and sublime place, enters into a place that is the antithesis of that, with the goal that was to transform that darker place. And that we have all the tools we need to do so. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson in this special series that we have every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. But it's archived and available anytime. Just go to meaningfullife.com, where you can find this and many other programs, a full schedule of activities and events and programs throughout the week. Please check it out. As always, I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments, and of course, share it. Pay it forward to all those that you can reach. Be well and be blessed, and may you shine with your unique light to the environment and your sphere of influence and beyond. And may that have the right ripple effect and butterfly effect that will transform the entire planet in a basking glow of a cosmic dance and symphony, where all of us and each of us contribute and need each other in one complementary harmony. Be well and be blessed. Thank you.